Thank you, Mr. Alford. And I must admit the chairman made me chuckle when he talked about rabbit ears. That brings me back as a kid standing in my backyard trying to catch
your dad
the
yelling
Browns,
at you to try to move the rabbit ears around.
trying to catch the rabbit ears so you can catch the Browns game from Erie, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Anyhow, the chair would like to recognize the vice chair of the committee, Mr. LaLota, for his 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Chairman. I appreciate the time. Chairman Carr, you're the head of the Federal Communications Commission,
Yes, sir.
and you've been at the FCC since about 2017.
Commissioner since 2017. I started as a staffer back in 2012.
Did I read that you were nominated by presidents of both parties?
Was by President Trump and President Biden.
Great. And the FCC's jurisdiction covers wireless and wire communications, both including landlines and cellular phones,
Yes, sir.
and scam calls, fraudulent calls made with the intent to steal money, personal information, or both are under your purview, sir?
That's right. We have a significant work stream going, including that we're always looking to expand that deals with robocalls, illegal robocalls, other types of spam. Other agencies, FTC as well, have a role here, but this is a big piece of what we do with the agency.
I do want to talk about robocalls, but I first want to talk about AI-generated impersonation scams, which are becoming increasingly effective. My staff's research says that many of those scams result in the loss of about $6,000 on average, where the traditional scam calls are about $539 on average. Chairman, what types of AI scams are you seeing most commonly right now?
So there's AI scams that come in two forms. One, AI as a technology can be used for the actually sort of generating these robocalls. Second, we're seeing AI used as the content on the robocall itself. The FCC at this point has made clear that the content of the robocall itself is not necessarily relevant to our determination, but the use of AI does constitute an artificial or pre-recorded voice, which is the regulation that allows us to regulate it as a robocall.
Okay. What's the typical demographic targeted by these scam calls, and specifically the AI-generated calls? Do they skew older, younger, geographically? How would you describe the demographics of those who are targeted by these calls?
Yeah, I can look to get specifics on that. As a general matter, our sense is that the net is cast very, very widely. It may snag different people in different ways, but we can look more closely at some of that data.
Some of my research, anecdotal and some more deeper, suggests that seniors are the ones being targeted more often. Do you agree with that instinct at least?
Yeah, that would not surprise me at all.
And what is the FCC doing about these AI-generated calls?
Yeah, a couple things. One, we're always looking to strengthen our call blocking, our call authentication measures. We're working with the FTC. State attorney generals have also been involved, and we are issuing consumer advisories when we see particular schemes that arise. We'll warn the relevant community about the contours of that scheme.
Is the FCC equipped with the tools, the authorities it needs to properly combat this developing scam?
Yeah, I'm comfortable right now in terms of where we are. I think we need to ramp our efforts up, but I don't think that's going to require significant new expenditures at this point.
What can the committee and/or Congress do to help you in this effort, Chairman?
We're right now doing a top-to-bottom review, and we'll come back to you if there's any gaps in our authorities that we need filled. Congress has been a great partner when there has been issues that arise that we need additional authority providing that to us. One issue that we have always sort of looked at is on the enforcement side. The FCC doesn't have independent authority necessarily to go to court to block some of this. So let me take a look at that and see whether there's some fixes we might need there.
Should you have that authority, in your
Let
opinion?
me look and see how much of a block that's been, and then come back to you on that, and we'll get back to you on any broader reforms that we need as well.
Okay. Switching from the AI-generated calls to the robocalls, which are highly annoying to many of my constituents, how is the FCC working with telecom providers and law enforcement to stop robocallers at the source, especially those operating overseas?
Yeah, one thing that we've done is we are continuing to grant carriers greater and greater leeway to block calls at the source, to block calls when they start. We're also putting a technology across the board called the Stir, Shaken Authentication Framework to try to identify. We have a traceback consortium, so when we get a number, we now have the capacity to trace that number back to its origin. We've also been standing up a new process over these recent years where we are effectively forcing providers that are onboarding illegal robocalls to kick them off their network a lot faster. If they're not taking actions, then that provider itself, even though they're not a robocaller, they've enabled the robocalls, we're able to take action on them quickly as well. So we just got to continue to ramp these efforts up.
The FCC is inherently a domestic agency.
Principally, but we do have, a look at sort of international communications as well. And a lot of robocalls are coming from overseas, and there's been some challenges where we're upgrading our networks and our standards, but you can lose some of the identifying information when there's a handoff from abroad to the U.S. But we do work with our international counterparts on these issues.
Generally speaking, Chairman, from where overseas are a lot of these scam calls coming?
They come from all over the place. India is one that originates a lot of these. But it can bounce around Eastern Europe as well. There's multiple sources of these calls.
Thanks, Chairman. Hope we can stay in touch, and you let us know how this committee and Congress as a whole can help you with the tools, the authorities, the budget you need to help you do your job.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. I yield.